Ladies and gentlemen of Knucklehead Nation, I am absolutely elated this evening to be joined by a very hot prospect coming through the Lions Den. He was at FightersRep 21 the last time we saw him, or 22 actually. And we're going to see him again at FightersRep 24 in Los Angeles. The beautiful Commerce Casino. It's none other than Anthony Castaneda. Anthony, how are you doing, brother?
I'm doing good, George. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I'm excited to have you on. You were a bit of a standout for me, man, at the last card, So I wanted to hit you up and talk to you. I felt like the guy that you're fighting, Mark Reels, he was also a bit of a standout in the last card. But before we go forward, is it Castaneda or Castaneda? I mean, how am I saying this?
Depends who wants to say it, but I say Castaneda.
Okay, Castaneda, you got it, brother. You got it. We're just gonna call you Anthony to make it easy.
Call me Anthony to make it easier.
So, Anthony, you signed up for the last event, man. You had, I believe, only one fight. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah, I had one amateur fight. It was for
Muay Thai.
Muay Thai. It was for the USMTO back in
see.
Yeah.
I see. And you decided to hop in the Lions Den and do a kickboxing fight. I mean, what was it that spurred you to want to do kickboxing? Why not do Muay Thai again? I mean, what was kind of going through your mind when you accepted the fight?
Well, when I did Muay Thai, just based on my style alone, you guys obviously tell I'm like a pressure fighter. I like to go forward. I like to be in the pocket, and it's just I love Muay Thai. I've been watching martial arts since I was a young kid. I love Muay Thai and all that stuff, but I feel like my style kind of gets halted when I'm putting pressure on somebody and they can just clinch me and hold me for a while.
Right.
So I knew that I wanted to either do a boxing fight or a kickboxing fight, just because I wanted to be able to show my full, I feel like my first fight compared to now is such a big step up because I was able to not get held and it really fully express myself in there, So I knew kickboxing was going to allow me to do that.
I love that. And before, even getting into all that, I mean, what kind of got you into the fight game? Did you do any other sports growing up? Kind of tell me what the inspiration was.
I'll give you just a little background. I grew up in a little bit of a rough neighborhood growing up. I was kind of easy pickings. So I got bullied a lot when I was younger. And I remember we used to go over to my uncle's house to watch UFC fights when I was young, but I never paid attention. And then out of nowhere one day, Anderson Silva was fighting. And I remember I was like 7 years old at the time. And for some reason, Anderson Silva caught my eye. And I remember just being enamored with the guy. Like it was something different. And it clicked with me. Up until that, I played like football. I played rugby. But I told my dad I wanted to get into it as just kind of self-defense and kind of like a confidence boost. I grew up a bigger boy. I used to be really big. I used to be really chunky. So it was just a way to get exercise and build confidence in myself. And it just clicked. It just was the first thing that I ever did athletically that made sense. So I took it serious. I mean, I've had dreams of becoming a fighter since I was a young kid, but I kind of delayed it, until I got a little bit older. And it wasn't for the past couple years that my coaches and my teammates kind of started telling me, like, it's time to go for it. You know what I mean? You're getting there, so just take a dive for it. That's why that USMTO fight, I took that fight in like a month, like a month in space. So I was just like, I kind of got to get going.
So, I mean, it sounds like you took that one a bit of on a fast track, but I mean, for FightersRep 22, did you get a full training camp in? Were you able to really, be at where you wanted to be going into that fight?
Yeah, because I think I got the fight signed like the end of December, maybe beginning of January. I hit up Hung, the matchmaker. And so, I had about, I think, 8 weeks. So it was perfect for me. It was a good camp. I felt really good, had great sparring. But yeah, it did. It felt fuller. It felt right. Everything about the whole experience of my last fight felt good, Like my last fight, I fought at like 9 o'clock in the morning, like 10 a.m. in the morning. So I really didn't even get time to think or process anything. Whereas this one, I got to feel what it was like to, the build up to a fight, get the camp right, and, really experience a full competition.
Yeah. And, kind of, I mean, you said it was 8 weeks. So, I mean, it sounds like, you were able to put in some good work. I mean, I would say that's about a typical fight camp for even a pro fighter. I mean, how did that feel being able to get that in there and really be dialed in? Did you feel like you were dialed in? Was that enough time for you? Did you want more? Did you want less?
Honestly, it felt more than enough during that time. I really honed in on everything. I made sure my cardio was right. My sparring partners were always checking me. I was getting my good rounds in. Um, it definitely just felt like a different story compared to my first fight. I was a lot more dialed in. My cardio was a lot better. My running was on point. Diet was on point. So everything was more on point for almost 8 weeks straight, basically.
Yeah,
And so,
yeah.
and I mean, obviously it showed, in the fight.
And not having to, drive out to Arizona for it, right here
Yeah.
local, huh?
Yeah, that was brutal. I was already dehydrated and cutting weight and all that stuff, and I had to drive out there, and it was brutal for sure.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, classic fight team. I mean,
Yep.
no joke. You're with get some real, some
Yeah.
real
Good
killers
boys.
over there, some real
Yeah.
good experience over there. Kind of who are you working with there, and how do you feel about it so far?
So I've known Tyler Wombles, my head coach. I started training with him when I was around 11 years old. When he
Wow.
used to be an assistant coach at King's MMA in Huntington Beach. That's where I met him. Then I took it off. I kind of just went to go wrestle in high school, and then I wrestled high school for like 2.5 years, and then I found out he made his own gym, Classic, and I was around 17, 18 at the time. And that's when I joined him again.
Mhm, mhm.
But yeah, Classic is a place where it's not for the weak. It's a
Yeah,
place where it comes from a very hardcore lineage, shoot the box lineage. But that's what made me into what I am. It was
yeah,
rough. You get beat up. You lose rounds more than you win them. But to me, I'm going with some of the best in the world,
yeah.
professionals on the daily. I'm training with Tyler Wombles. I'm training with all the Paez brothers, Diego Paez, Mario Paez, Chris Paez. Just amazing world championship fighters, and just people with some of the highest level skills. So just that alone for me, knowing who I train with at Classic, is honestly the most confidence I can handle. If I can handle or even withstand a round with some of these guys, I
Right.
know at the level that I'm at, I could beat most guys.
Yeah, yeah. And how long have you been like, training dedicated to striking for right now, up to now?
I would say seriously, probably the past 3 to 4 years.
Okay.
I've put in, but I've always been a striker. I've never really been a grappler.
I see.
Um,
I see.
I wanted everything was about MMA for in the beginning. So that's why I went to go wrestle in high school. But yeah, I mean, I started striking. I started in a traditional martial art called Hapkido, and
Okay.
it was super. It was just the only gym that was in the area that I was in, so I went there,
That's
and
funny. That's
yeah,
funny.
I joined King's MMA, and I found out what the real deal was, and so yeah, I've been striking my whole life for on and off. I would say on and off for the past almost 10 years.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, Knuckleheads, if you're just joining us, I'm here with Anthony Castaneda. We're just going to call him Anthony because you might get the pronunciation wrong. You can follow him on Instagram at high_names_ant. That's where you can follow his journey on Instagram. He's had 2 fights now. He's heading into his 3rd fight with Fighters Rep. Again, this will be his 2nd fight in a row for Fighters Rep, and we're very excited to have him because – man, and you put on a show on that last one, man. And there was I don't know if you saw online, it got a lot of views. There was a lot of controversy because what was
Yeah,
uploaded was just a clip,
yeah,
and then the stoppage. People didn't see what happened up to that point, so they thought it
yeah.
was stopped early.
Mhm.
But you were pretty dominant in that fight. But you did get a lot of attention. I mean, did you
Yeah.
notice that at all?
Yeah, I saw it. Some of my teammates hit me up, and I saw the comments, and I understood. Like, I get it. Like with the clip that was shown, but people don't know. In the first round, I got an 8 count, and then in the second round, it started with a doctor looking at him, and then it led to that. So, I mean, if I was him, if I was Bear, I would obviously want to keep fighting,
Yeah.
But that being said, I wasn't tired. I wasn't gonna stop coming, and it probably would have just been worse for him anyways. And so, I get it. You have to keep the fighters safe, especially how young we are and where we are at our careers. But I mean, I just have to say, like, I wasn't gonna stop what I
Yeah.
was doing. So
And it's a brutal sport too, man. I tell people kickboxing is just, I don't know, man. It's just vicious. I mean, we call it the Lion's Den, and I call it that because, man, we're like a lot of the time floating around 40-50% knockout ratio in that Lions Den, man.
Yeah.
These guys from, I mean, the Florida guys are tough too, man. But these guys from SoCal, you know, all these great gyms, Classic included, CMMA, Blackbeard, you know, all these people, you know, they come in and they're looking for the finish. A lot of these fighters, they're looking to get you out of there. They've only got 3 rounds, and so it gets really brutal in there. So I appreciate the referees being cautious, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, they were awesome. Yeah, I love all. Yeah, honestly, you know, your organization it was super professional. They broke down everything well. It felt comfortable. It just felt right, and that's why I immediately, when I met you after, you told me, you know, if you would like to get me on the, you know, on the next one, it was immediate. You know, like it was like I think a couple days later that I texted the matchmaker. I was like, just give me another one, get me on there.
Yeah, and I was happy to hear that. And you know, I mean, I won't say I was pleasantly surprised by your performance because I expected a good performance. You know, with you coming from, you know, Classic and the coaches you have, but you know, I will say, like, it was an impressive showing, right? Before I get to that, though, and I give you my comments on all that, you know, how was your experience? I mean, you just touched on it briefly, but how was your experience, like, in the lead up, you know, backstage, you know, during the fight, after? Kind of walk me through the whole experience. I like to hear it from the vantage point of the fighter, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I'll even start from the weigh-in. Like the weigh-in was great. It was smooth. It was quick. I got on and off the scale, got hydrated. We did the photos. Like the photographer was a really good guy. He was cool. He was calm. And then the day of the fight, I mean, everything just kind of felt like homey to me. So it felt right. It just felt right. It didn't feel like I was in the wrong place or anything like that. It felt professional, you know, and everything was smooth. Everything was, you know, quick too. I thought, you know, I was going to fight even later than I was going to fight, you know, but like, everything got done quick and quickly and efficiently. Everybody was on it. It was very professional and I loved it.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, I tell people all the time, you know, sometimes they're like, oh, I'm at the end of the card, you know, because usually we'll put like the debuts or somebody who has, if one of the guys is debuting or something, or the least experience, we'll put them at the back and we'll put them at the front. And then we'll put like the main event in the middle. And I tell people all the time, you know, we typically don't get out later than like 11 p.m. ever out of a Fighters Rep event because we start early. So, you know, and that's part of the reason we start early too. I don't like to keep people, you know, way too late either, you know. So I'm glad you enjoyed that. So I kind of want to, you know, I kind of wanted to go into the fight itself. You know, how did you feel out there, you know, when they called your name under those lights, walking out to your, you know, your entrance music? I mean, how did you feel? How was your energy? And then the fight, did it go the way you imagined it would go for you?
I mean, from the walkout, it just felt right. That's the best way I could say it. It felt right to me. It felt like I was supposed to be there. And even the day of, I had no anxiety. I had like no anxiousness, no butterflies or anything. Even when I was in the back watching all the fights, I felt great. I felt calm. You know, it just felt like a dream come true, honestly. It just felt like
that's a really good sign, I think, ahead of a fight, especially when it's just your second, you know, your second amateur full contact fight.
Yeah, especially this fight. I had a lot of family come out, so I was nervous about that and stuff like that. But it's kind of like a switch. I guess the switch turns on, and I kind of zone everything out. When my name was called, honestly, like I love the whole setting, but I kind of just blank out in there. You know, I kind of blanked out, and I was in the moment. The fight turned out how I thought it was gonna be. I knew, you know, Bear, just comparing it to my first fight and understanding the debut feelings, I knew he was gonna be very anxious. I could see it in the weigh-in. Like, I'm not trying to disrespect him or anything, but I could see he was very antsy. You know, I could see that he was like, he's young, he's a killer, and he wants to get in there and just slang. And I knew that, but I knew I was calmer. I knew, especially that fight camp, I was going at it with some of the highest level, you know, amateurs to professionals. So I knew my coach told me, Tyler told me in the back, just let him go, like let him do his thing. And he did. He opened up, he threw like a 10-punch combination to begin with. I blocked it all. I saw all the punches. And I remember seeing him when I actually cracked him for the first time. And he started bleeding. I could see I already had won the fight after that. I knew it. I knew my pressure would break him eventually. Again, no disrespect to Bear. He's game. He came out game. But I just know what I can do. If you can't put me out, I just know that eventually my pressure will eventually get to you.
I love that, man. And you did. You looked so calm out there, man. And you
Yeah.
looked, let me tell you, man, you looked really, really good out there, especially considering your experience. But forget the experience. I mean, you just looked good out there, bro. Like, regardless of experience level, and that's why I was very excited to have you back. That's why I'm also very excited to have Edgar back, too, your teammate, who's also
Yeah.
going to be on this card.
Yeah.
Both of you guys looked, I mean, you guys just look excellent in the lines then.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you guys. And it's everybody at Classic always looks great at Fighters Rep typically. And what I wanted to say was I kind of went on a rant a few days later because we do a lot with the channel and on social media and stuff. And I was watching that Francis Ngannou fight and Anthony Joshua fight, and it really showed the levels in boxing, right?
Yeah.
And I told everybody, listen, we're a kickboxing promotion. All the fighters that fight for us, we're a kickboxing promotion. You got to have boxing. You got to get your hands like, if you want to be really good, then you got to have good boxing, I think. The kicking's just not enough by itself.
Yeah.
The boxing's not enough by itself. You want to be good at both, but I think boxing is still extremely underrated, even in our sport. And I wanted to say, man, you were one of the people I was most impressed with, despite the fact that it was just your second amateur bout. As far as your boxing was crazy that night. I don't know if you felt you were just clicking on all cylinders. I mean, how did you feel? Because I just felt like your boxing was on point, man.
I mean, there was times where in and out, I was realizing what I was doing, but it wasn't until after the fight that I realized, how crisp I was, or how crispy I was. I was actually throwing combinations. I knew he was a taller guy. I'm at a weight class where I know I'm going to be fighting taller guys. I think Mark's a little bit taller than me. But I knew that I had to put pressure on him, and the only way is like I'm not gonna kick with the long guy. You know what I mean? I just can't do it. That being said, I got chewed out by my coach Tyler. My first fight too, I threw maybe one kick, so he wants me to be throwing a lot more, and I'll be looking to do that for sure. But my hands have always been my kind of just my thing. I've been known for my boxing for a long time now. Which is weird because I started in a martial art where we only threw kicks. I didn't learn how to throw a punch until like maybe 4 or 5 years into martial arts. But I fell in love with it. I fell in love with throwing my hands. I feel like I'm just honing it in even more. I feel like my technique's even better. But yeah, I'm gonna be looking to do the same plus more.
Yeah. Well, I will say, I mean, I didn't remember many kicks at all, but what I remember was, boxing, and you, like you said, walking him down, and it was intelligent pressure. And I was impressed with it because you were accurate, you were hitting hard, your defense was pretty, I thought pretty tight, pretty responsible for the most part. And you just, you looked like you really knew what you were doing in there with your hands. And it's something that's very important, I think, right? It's something I think is very important in kickboxing. I mean, it's in the name, kickboxing. You know what I mean? So, I just, considering the amount of experience you had, I was a little bit taken aback, I will say, by the level of your boxing. You looked very good.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
And on top of it, you got the 8. You got the standing 8 count, like you said. They had the referee check him on the way out. I think it was the second round, and then you got the stoppage, which was. All the more impressive too. In your debut in the Lions Den. So I thought that was awesome.
Thank you.
What did I know Tyler probably wanted you to throw more kicks or whatnot, but what did they say? Did they give you any positive criticism? What did your family think? Like, what did the team think?
Starting with my team, my coach is very proud of me. He was just glad that I finally was able to let loose. You could tell, like I remember my first fight, he wanted me to go a lot more, throw a lot more, be more confident, and this time you could just tell I was just levels above my first fight when it comes to just being accurate, doing volume, and doing all that, and just being comfortable. But yeah, he just loved that I was putting the pressure. I did basically everything he said. Put pressure, put combinations, put out volume. Just keep doing what I was doing. My family. It was amazing to see my dad there. My dad has been sort of supporting me since day one. He's the one that has been supporting me through all this. So to see him there, make him proud, show him everything that I put in the work for. You know, he's a hardworking man, so he doesn't get to see the training and the stuff that I put in. So
Yeah.
to display it for him was a blessing. To display it in front of my cousins, my friends, my teammates, especially my teammates, the people that have helped me so much during those camps, to make it worth it. You know, for them giving me the rounds, them giving me the advice, the tips, the drilling, to be able to put it out there and get a victory for them and my everybody. You know, it was a blessing.
Yeah, yeah, no, looked great. That was a great performance. And your opponent here coming up on June 8th, Mark Reels, he also had a good performance.
Yeah.
Um, Also, it made his Lions Den debut at the
Mhm.
same time you did. Came out with the win, decision win against Taylor Fox, very tough guy,
Mhm.
and looked good too, man. I think this is going to be a banger of a fight. I think both you are exceptional for the amount of experience that you guys have,
Mhm.
and I think for the both of you, and this is another thing I wanted to say about you, and you kind of beat me to it. I think kickboxing suits your fighting style
Yeah.
uh, quite a bit.
Mhm.
Like you said, you don't have anyone to kind of clinch you the whole time,
Yeah.
so you were kind of able to let loose. I think Mark's kind of a similar kind of fighter. I think both you're going to go out there and be pretty explosive. What do you think about Mark? What do you know about Mark, and how do you feel about this fight coming up?
So I met Mark in the back. Actually, we chopped it up a little bit. He's a cool guy. You know, I respect him. He had fought a couple of my teammates before. Um, he's a good guy. I have no ill will against him. I have no disrespect. He went out there. I watched the fight in the back. He's good. You know, he's a good opponent for me. I think it's a good matchup for me. I think he's a dude that is gonna stand there and try to bang with me, which is all I want for the most part. Um, but yeah, he's good. I can't wait to show what we're gonna do. I think we're gonna put on a good show for you guys for sure.
Yeah, 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 for sure. And is that the style that you embody? Is that what you want to be known for? A guy that goes out there and just bangs it out? Because I didn't see just like a barbarian in there. I
Yeah,
saw someone using like really intelligent aggression in there.
yeah.
Kind of
I,
tell me, what it is you want to be, how you want to be known, and how you want to be seen as a fighter.
I mean, I definitely know, like, again, looking after my health, I definitely don't want to be like an early stage Justin Gaethje, just going
Right.
crazy all the time. And, I want to save my brain for sure for after this. But I know I have that in me. I know I have that type of dog in me. So it's always good to know that I have that in my back pocket. If anything, I would love to be like someone, if I could compare to someone like TJ Dillashaw or Max Holloway, where I'm patient. I'm patient. I have clean angles. I'm working on all that. Clean angles, good boxing, kicks if I need them, and just being clean. But if things get dirty, like I'm ready to go. I'm ready to pull
Yeah.
that in the back pocket.
Yeah, yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you're just joining us, I'm here with hot prospect out of Classic Fight Team, Anthony Castaneda, who's going to be throwing down on June 8th at Fighters Rep 24. You get your tickets at FightersRep.com. You can catch the stream if you can't make it. Anthony, they should be able to make it, man. We got a hotel attached to the casino. They should be able to come watch you.
Yeah.
But if they can't, they can watch it on what I believe is a TV quality live stream right here on YouTube by just joining the channel. It's just $9.99 a month, and you help us support these young fighters like Anthony Castaneda and bring them through. Also, if you want to support the channel, join or get yourself some merchandise. And if you drop a super chat or a super thanks on this video, we'll split the profit with Anthony. So if you're feeling generous, you want to sponsor him, you want to sponsor us or him through us, hey, we're open to making all of that happen and helping him out and you helping us out. Thank you so much for that. So I think this is going to be an exciting fight, Anthony. What's kind of, I know it's still early, but I'd like to know, what's kind of the short term and then the long term goal for you in this thing of ours.
Uh, if for the short term, for sure. I mean, obviously, I would like, I think you guys' belts are pretty. You know what I mean? So I would love to
Thanks.
get that belt wrapped around my waist one day, whoever it is. Um, for the long term, I just want, I want a legacy. I want a legacy. I want to leave behind a legacy. My number one thing is I'm a believer in Christ. I feel like God has put me. This is my calling. This is my purpose, and this is the way I glorify Him. So That's my number one thing for sure. God above all. So I want to make it to the top, and whatever this is, God's gonna put me through it, and and share God's word. But yeah, I want I want belts, I want legacy, and I want greatness. That's ultimately what in the long run. I just want to be known and inspire the world and show people that you can be who you want. It doesn't matter where you come from, background, anything. You can get through it, and once you find your purpose, I just want to show people once you find your purpose and stick to it, make the sacrifices that need to be made, that you can become successful.
100%. I couldn't agree more. Now, does it matter what combat sport is in, or is Anthony Castaneda looking to leave a legacy in kickboxing and Muay Thai? Is it MMA that you're looking to get into? Boxing, even? I mean, what is it that you're really trying to get yourself into here?
It's funny. My coach last night told me, he's like, if you don't throw one kick in the next fight, you have to become a boxer. He was like, you do well, so don't worry about it. But I was like, okay. Ultimately, the truth is, I would love to become a UFC champion. I think that's the ultimate goal of mine since I was a young child. But I would love to go far in kickboxing. I really would. I think it would be awesome to get at the highest level of kickboxing and really perfect my striking, even if kind of like do a Alex Pereira in a way, go, get myself and really, really solidify my stand up.
Yeah.
I'm in the background, and I can be working on my grappling, over time, but eventually maybe get into the UFC later on, in my life. But I would wherever God leads me, I'm gonna go. Right now I'm just focused on June 8th, but yeah, I would love to become a UFC champion. I would just, I would love to become a kickboxing world champion.
I love it. I love it. Well, maybe that can happen right in the Lions Den at some point. Anthony, I really appreciate your time, man. This has been, very interesting getting to know you. Obviously, we're very excited to have you back. I do see a lot of potential in you, in Mark, in your teammate Edgar. I think you guys are the next crop of, young, hot prospects coming through. And I'm very excited to nurture that and to continue to build up the pros. We will be having pros back on. I think it's starting in September. So, obviously maybe we'll get you on with Tyler or one of your teammates out there from Classic. We've had Ed Hyman before. I mean, that would be a lot of fun to have all you guys.
I love it. The man.
Yeah, it would be a lot of fun to have you guys out there all together representing. Is there anything you want to say to anybody out there, anyone you want to thank? I mean, I know you've got a big team and everything else, but anything you want to say?
I mean, if anybody's out there watching that knows me, thank you guys for supporting me. I love all you guys. Anybody that is new, starting, if this exposes me to new people, just come with me along my journey. I can't wait to show what I can bring this to, and I'm just blessed to even have a platform the way you guys are giving it. So thank you as well, George. Appreciate FightersRep. Appreciate all you guys there. Just look out June 8th. It's going to be a good fight, and I'm looking to get my hands raised.
It's a pleasure, man. And one more thing I wanted to ask you, I like to ask everybody this, for those people sitting on the fence, Anthony, they've never been to a FightersRep event. They've never been to a kickboxing event. Maybe they're right there next to the Commerce Casino. They've never been to a fight. Why should they come out and buy tickets to watch Anthony Castaneda throw down?
I mean, number one, you guys could tell I just put on a show, like I'm going to go out there and put it on the line, But on top of that, it's an amazing place. I mean, place was beautiful. The Commerce, the way you guys set it up, it was amazing. I loved it. It felt for real. It felt professional. And I truly mean it. The energy was amazing. I loved everybody there. It's just a great show. I really do. I really mean that. I've been to multiple shows. I've been to UFC events, and it's, this, even though it's on a smaller scale, it was amazing. It was an amazing experience. So I think all my family friends that came, they loved it. They loved everything about it. So it's worth it for sure.
Really glad to hear that. We're really excited to have you, ladies and gentlemen of Knucklehead Nation, Anthony Castaneda. Again, give him a follow on Instagram at hi_names_ant and follow the journey, man. Anthony, thank you so much for your time, brother. Hope you have a great night, and I'm going to see you at the weigh-in.
Yes. Yep. You have a great night, George. Thank you for doing this for me. Okay.
All right, brother.
All right. Bye-bye.